Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I'm going to be discussing my December reads. This is actually the second, maybe even kind of third time I filmed this video because I need to learn in the new year how to give the plot to a book without spending 8 minutes on it. So we're going to work on that, and I'm refilming this because the previous video was way too rambly and awful and it made no sense, and I don't think I actually told you guys anything. So, to get right into the video, I read 2.5 books and then 3 manga. So basically December I decided was going to be my Japanese language reading month because I realized that in 2020 I hadn't read anything in Japanese, which is a big problem because, I mean, the whole reason I'm here in Japan is, well, I'm here to work as well, but it's also to improve my Japanese because my goal is to be able to read my favorite authors in Japanese, at least my favorite Japanese authors in the original language. And I haven't really been doing that part. I've been kind of lazy. So yeah, December is just, it's me playing catch up. And I didn't read as much because I think, as with everyone, December, I kind of just wanted it to be over. I was ready for it to be over. I think I shared the same feelings with others about that. Work was a struggle to just finish through it, and then this vacation I've slept through most of it. It's just one of those things. It's like, you know what, let's move on. So let's move on to the first book I read, which was Shizuka na Ame by Miyashita Natsu. This is a short story. It's not so much as an anthology because there's only 2 short stories. There's the main short story was Shizuka na Ame, which is Soundless Rain, followed by a shorter story called Hi ni Tsunagu, which is basically connecting days. So how the days kind of just roll into each other and just kind of, it's just a continuous flow. And Shizuka na Ame was the debut novel of Miyashita Natsu, whose more famous book has been translated into English. This one has not. And while I have not read that one, I picked this one up because I flipped through the pages at the bookstore and I saw that this would be an easy read. Like, it's not very difficult grammar, there isn't very much difficult vocab, so I was like, oh, this is gonna be a perfect warm-up. And I actually hadn't even noticed it was the same author as the book I already owned. So I started with this. Shizuka na Ame and Hi ni Tsunagu is basically about relationships. Shizuka na Ame focuses on 2, where it's a boy who became enamored with a taiyaki shop owner. A taiyaki being a traditional sweet in Japan, which is basically, it's almost like a waffle shaped in the shape of a fish, and there's usually azuki bean, so red, sweet red bean paste inside, or sometimes there's custard, which is what I prefer since I don't really like azuki. But he forms this relationship with the owner of this taiyaki sweet shop, and he wants to get her to know her more. And so they're slowly developing the relationship when she gets in an accident, falls into a coma. And when she wakes up from the coma, she has all of her memories from before the accident, but she remembers nothing of the accident itself, and she can't form new memories. So she can spend a day with someone, but the very next morning when she wakes up, she doesn't remember anything from the previous day. But even with that, he kind of helps her get back onto her feet. They form a more sort of romantic relationship. She moves in with him, and the story is basically him processing those emotions, those feelings, about how for him he feels like he's properly experiencing the relationship, but he questions if she can because she can't remember anything. So it's just, it's just a sweet story about those things. He's quite endearing and he's very friendly, but I think he has very real, authentic feelings of guilt and frustration and, questioning his motivation. So it was a good story, very easy, very sweet, perfect warm-up. And bonus, it also became a movie, so I can even watch that if I want to. The second story was called Hi ni Tsunagu, so the days that sort of flow together. And that one was also about a tumultuous relationship. It's about this woman and her child, and she kind of reflects on how she chose her partner to be her partner. He's not a good partner. It feels more like she just chose the first guy that came along. And that one I quite liked more than this, because I thought it felt more realistic a story. It felt like it more reflected actual society here in Japan, and more those sort of relationships built out of what seems like social obligation versus love. So I actually quite enjoyed that story, even though I hated her relationship. I was just like, I just wanted her to get out of there. I wanted to tell her past self, don't marry this guy, do not have a child with this guy. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, that's Shizuka na Ame. And then after that, I read my favorite horror novelist here. When I say favorite, that just means I haven't read that much horror, but I always go back to this guy because he's very easy to read. So this is Natsu to Hanabi to Watashi no Shitai, which translates to Summer, Fireworks, and My Corpse, and this has been translated into English. And then this is the main story, and then it's followed by Yugo. And then the English version actually has one extra story, and I'll discuss that in a minute. But Natsu to Hanabi to Watashi no Shitai is about a brother and sister and their friend who they have pushed from a tree, and the friend dies and they hide her corpse. And the story is them sort of like trying to deal with that, hide the corpse, make sure no one finds it. And in the background, there's the village and the children who are trying to set up the fireworks for the town festival. And then there's also the incident of there's a kidnapper who's been kidnapping young children in neighboring towns. And they're kind of trying to use that as a means to hide this girl's corpse. And then the second story, Yuko, is about this girl who becomes a maid in a home. And she serves this man, and he tells her, you know, you're very free to do what you want, but please don't go into my room. That's the only room you can't come into, because Yuko is sick and she can't really talk to anybody. And so the maid does as she says, but she finds it very weird that she's been in this home for a long time and she's never met his wife Yuko. Like, she's never heard the woman's voice, and she's never even seen her, and she thinks it's really strange, and she starts questioning the husband. So the thing I like about Otsuichi is that he's very good about creating tension in his stories. So it's not like, you know, death here, murder here, you know, plot twist here, there, suspense, tension, fight scenes, action scenes. It's not that at all. That's not his style of writing. He's very simple. It almost seems like he's just writing about an everyday event. It just happens to be that everyday event is quite unnormal, quite abnormal, and here, I mean, it's like kids trying to hide a corpse. But he creates this tension that you know something's gonna come, and you're just waiting and you're waiting. I think in this main story, he waited a little bit too long, but when he gets to the plot twist, and there are plot twists, when he gets to it, it's good. It feels like, okay, that was a good development to this. And Yuko actually has more, because another thing that Otsuichi does very well is that he switches your perspective. So you'll read, he'll give the plot twist, and then you kind of end up questioning what you just read before. So really great. Also really good if you're a beginner in Japanese. Otsuichi is the perfect way to get yourself into reading actual full novels in Japanese. So when it comes to the English translation, if you are interested in reading the English translation, to be honest, I don't know who the audience is, because I feel his stories are almost too simple. Like, if you're used to standard mystery thrillers that I seem to see on YouTube, I feel like this is way too simple. So I don't know. I think you'd have to try it. Maybe for one of those prompts for like read non-literary fiction genre in another language. This might be like a good author to pick up. And the thing with the English translation, Summer Fireworks and My Corpse, for that anthology, as I mentioned before, there is a third story in the English version of the anthology. And when I read the reviews from Library Thing, which is what I use, I don't use Goodreads, I use Library Thing, it seemed that people liked the first story, they very much liked the second story, and they loved the third story. So I can't tell you anything about that third story, but just know it seems to be very popular. So maybe that can be something you can look out for. So that's 夏と花火と私の死体. The next anthology, this is actually a proper anthology. It's called Christmas Stories, 一年で一番奇跡が起きる日. So the day where the most miracles happen. And this is a Christmas anthology by a bunch of Japanese authors. And then I discussed this in my Christmas vlog, which if you're not tired of Christmas, if you're not over Christmas, you know, feel free to watch that if you're interested. If not, I totally understand. I'm kind of over the Christmas feel either. But yeah, I read half of this, and I'm gonna save the other half for next year. But even half is still 2.5 stories. I stopped during the third story because I really liked the beginning. But the thing is that like the story has a very action-packed beginning, and then it cuts to another scene, and basically the whole point is you're supposed to see how the beginning connects to the second part, and I wasn't really vibing with the second part that much. So I did kind of end prematurely on that one. I didn't finish the story, but maybe next year I can read it. But I did read the first story and the second story. The first story being Gyaku-san, sort of like counting backwards. And then the second story being Kimi ni tsutaitakute, which is I need to tell you, there's something I need to tell you. And these stories were fun. They were it was interesting what these authors chose to do for Christmas. So like basically when it comes to Christmas stories, this is not a Christmas carol. This is not Yuletide givings. This is not eggnog or anything. That's not what this is. It's more a reflection on the day that miracles happen. So all these stories kind of turn, or at least the stories I've read, I should say, is that the stories maybe turn around the day of Christmas or Christmas Eve. Like those days have a pivotal moment in the book, but the book is more about the miracles that occur around that day versus actual having like a Christmas, you know, a traditional Western Christmas feeling. But this was really fun to read. It wasn't exactly what I expected, but that made it more fun. And it was easy to read. Well, no, it wasn't easy to read. I did struggle with the first one because of his grammar. But anyway, I talked all about it within my vlog, so I won't say too much more, but I am looking forward to finishing this next year. And then last in the month, I read the first 3 volumes of the manga series Oremo Nogateri, which this was fantastic. This was so good. It was charming, it was whimsical, it was funny, and I really liked the characters. And I really thought this was so clever. So Oremo Nogateri takes the shoujo manga genre, which is just girls comics, you know, girls falling in love and having crushes with boys, and it takes that and flips it on its head, where basically this time the main character is Takeo, who is a unconventional guy. He's not traditionally handsome. He's very big, he's very loud, he's boisterous, but it turns out he is the sweetest person ever. And one day he's on the train and he saves this girl Yamato from being groped by a pervert on the train, and she just falls head over heels for him. And you know, everyone's surprised because she's super cute. She is like the typical shoujo heroine, but she falls for this guy who's just, you know, unconventional. So it's a super sweet manga and it's really great. And he has his best friend Suna, who is, I think there's a better picture on the back of one of these. Nope, that's volume 4. But Suna is here. And Suna is the traditional ikemen, like super popular, all the girls just fall, oh my goodness, he's so cute, I wish I could be with him type. But he hasn't been interested in that so far. So it'll be interesting to see where his character goes, because he's so melancholy and he's so withdrawn, but he has so much love towards his friend. And his friend Takeo and his girlfriend Yamato really want Suna to be as happy as they are. So this is a super charming manga. The characters are wonderful, and I think I'm going to try and read the rest of the series in January, because there are 13 volumes, so I just have 10 more volumes, so we'll see, maybe I'll be able to do that. So yeah, those are the books that I read in December. I'm happy, you know, happy to have gotten back into the Japanese streak, to get that, because I have the ability, I have the level, and I need to just build on it because there are so many wonderfully amazing yet to be translated books out there in Japan that I really want to be able to just speed through like I would any other book, because there's just so much waiting for me, and it's hard because there are so many bookstores in Japan, which is one of my favorite things here. It seems like there's a bookstore in every corner, and I hate that I can't just walk in and buy whatever I want, you know? So that's gonna be my goal. I'm very happy that I was able to read in Japanese today, this month. And in any case, that's it for today. I hope this video turns out better than my previous recording, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks, bye.